Hey y'all, welcome to Survival Crafts. Today, we're gonna go beyond salves. I'm gonna show you how to make a really amazing plantain gel. If you've been out enjoying the summer, chances are, like me, you've probably been bothered once in a while by mosquitoes. And perhaps it's been a bit of a wasp year this year, I guess. I've heard a lot of people talking about the amount of wasps, and funnily enough, we've been finding that our hardware stores have been running out of wasp spray. Seems to be a bit of a wasp year. But for those of you who like to use plantain for mosquito bites and wasp bites and that sort of thing, it's really easy to take a plantain leaf and chew it up and put it on the bites. Of course, there's way more uses for plantain than that, but that's a pretty popular one. Now, I've been making plantain salves, and they're great. They're amazing on irritated dry skin or sore skin, but they don't seem to be able to work as well as they could on mosquito bites because of the oils that are in them. That's kind of my guess anyway. So I'm going to show you instead how to make a gel out of a plantain infusion. So one of the things that I've been making a lot of is plantain salves. And I will show you the color. We've got a really nice, rich pea green color with this plantain salve, and it's great. I use this a lot. I've had some horses that have had little sunburns and stuff on their noses, and this works amazing. So, but the plantain salve, I'm finding, is not working as effectively on mosquito bites as what it could. So instead, we are going to make a plantain gel. So it's all going to be water-based, no oil. Now, before we get started, we should take a look at what equipment we're going to need. So first of all, I'm going to be using a crock pot, and this I'm going to just be using for a little bit because I need to heat up the infusion a little. I've already got my plantain infused in water, but I'm going to just use this to heat it up a little bit. Other pieces of equipment, I'll just pull them into camera. See if I can get everything in here in frame. I'm kind of tight on my my camera here. So I'm going to use some gloves just to keep everything fairly clean. I'm going to clean everything up with some isopropyl alcohol, including the container that I'm going to be putting my salve into. These are just some little mixing cups if I need them. Glass stirring rod, spatula, pen and tape to make my labels, and I want a small precision-sized scale. Very important. Now, one other thing I'm going to be using is I'm going to use this this little beaker here, little graduated beaker. Normally, if I heated up my plantain solution in the crock pot, I'd just mix everything in there, but I want you to see what I'm doing, so I'm going to mix everything up into here so you can see the gel magic happening. All right, for ingredients, we need just a few special things. So, of course, this is plantain infused in distilled water, and that's important. We want to use what we would consider dead water, so we don't want any minerals or anything else in here, just distilled water. And I've got my plantain leaves that I distilled in, or that I infused in there. So, and that's pretty cold. It's come out of the fridge, so I'm going to have to warm that up. All right, so plantain infusion, and that is going to be at 92% of our recipe. By the way, this is not going to be a DIY, so I'm not going to be writing the recipe down. If you want it, you can write the percentages down, and I will not be converting the amount for you. Okay, the other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to be adding a couple of different gums, and this is xanthan gum. Xanthan gum is a microbial fermentation of a microorganism called Xanthomonas campestris. And so it's not a synthetic. It's comes from nature. The other thing I'm going to be using, see if you can see through that. This is known as Sclerotium gum, and this also is a fermentation of Sclerotium rolfsii, and this is an omnivorous soil-borne fungal pathogen. Sounds kind of scary, but it's not harmful to us. The other thing that we're going to need, I've got a small beaker here. You might not be able to see that, but it's got some food-grade glycerin in it, and this is important. It must be food-grade. You do not want to use petroleum-based glycerin, so a food-based glycerin. And the final ingredient that we're going to be adding in here, this may not be super comfortable for many people, but this is a preservative, GeoGuard ECT EcoCert. So this is actually accepted within the cosmetic industry. I'm just experimenting with this one as an EcoCert. Normally I use something called Germol Plus as my preservative, but I'm going to be working with this one today to try and keep everything as relatively natural as I can, although this one I can't remember the exact makeup of it, but it is broad spectrum on things like bacteria, yeast, and mold. It's water soluble, and it has a toleration of a wide range of pH. So now, for those of you who don't want to put preservatives in your product, that's absolutely fine. That's entirely up to you. But here's what I'll tell you about that. If you're going to do that, especially with a gel, and especially with something in plant matter in it, and in fact, anything that has water in it, anything that's an aqueous solution, you want to preserve that. And if you don't want to add preservatives in, then you can use this same recipe. However, you will absolutely need to keep it in the fridge, and you want to use it up within probably 3 to 4 days. If you don't do that, then you could be risking yourself to get some pretty serious infections if you have little micro tears in your skin, and this your solution goes off and you get any kind of yeast or bacteria or mold in there, and that gets into that wound. It could give you some really nasty infections. So that's my warning to you. I'm actually going to be filming 3 videos over the next little while, so that I'll be doing this plantain gel. The next video will be marshmallow and oat gel, and then I'm going to be doing an actual lotion or a cream, a marshmallow, oat, and plantain cream. And then after that, I'm going to do a video series or a video to show you what happens when you don't use a preservative, okay? So before anybody comments below that says, oh, you could use a natural preservative like rosemary essential oil or grapeseed oil or vitamin E, those are awesome antioxidants, and they work to prevent oils from going rancid, but they absolutely do not, under any circumstances, manage bacterial growth in these solutions, and I'm going to show you that in videos. Anyway, let's get on with making this recipe. So the first thing you should know really is that you do need to make sure that all of your equipment is sanitized and cleaned quite well. So sterilization, not that easy, but again, I just used an alcohol base. 70% is all I have in this form, but it's great. So I've sprayed everything down, including my countertop. You could use a 5% bleach and water solution, and that will actually help to really sanitize everything too. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to weigh out my my plantain. I want 92% of my plantain infusion. And I'm going to just gently pour this over here and see how close I actually get. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Smack on. Okay. So that is my 92% plantain, and I'm going to put it into my little crock pot here, just to warm it up a little bit. And the reason why is that we're going to be using the Sclerotium gum in there and it will disperse a lot better if that water is a little bit warmer. All right, so let's measure out our glycerin here. And that is at 5%. So let's use a tiny little cup here to do that with. It's very, very challenging working with tiny little amounts like this. It's not as forgiving as if you were to use a really, really large amount. You know, because like the amount of grams, if you're off by, you know, 1 gram or whatever, it's not going to make a difference with a large batch. But with these small guys, you really need to be very mindful. And I've already gone over just a little bit, so there we go. Good enough. Perfect. And then to that, we're actually going to add the xanthan gum. And putting your xanthan gum in the glycerin first really helps a lot. And that is at 0.5%. Now, I'm going to just check the temperature of my water here. I don't want it to get too high. All right, so this is at 0.5%. So 0.5%. There we go. That's pretty perfect right there. Turn that scale off for a moment. And now we need to just mix up this glycerin. So I'll bring that in front of the camera. And I'm going to just simply mix up the gum and the glycerin together. Now you could do this with all xanthan gum. Not everybody will have access to the sclerotium gum. It's just that it makes it a little bit more of a snotty feel, to be a bit rude about it. So now, normally, I would be not adding this preservative at this stage. This is very heat sensitive, and it needs to be added at less than 45 degrees Celsius. And this is already at 20. I'm going to unplug it, actually. I'm going to unplug the plantain infusion. But I'm going to add the GeoGuard at 1%. There we go. And we'll give that a little mix. And that I'm just going to set to the side for now. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pour this liquid into the bigger beaker, just so you're going to be able to see everything. Otherwise, it's just too hard for you to see how this will turn into a nice gel. Now the cool thing is that this sclerotium gum is great at dispersing into the water. So let's add that, and that is at 1.5%. Perfect. That's it exactly. All right. So now I'm going to take the sclerotium gum, get that out of the way so you can see a bit better. I apologize again for the shadows. I'll move out of the way here. And I'm going to just put my gum into my water to disperse. Let it hydrate a little. I'm going to leave that to hydrate for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to give it a stir, and I'm also going to go and get a small, little tiny blender. All right, back with my blender here. So I'm going to take my my little stir stick, I'm going to start to try and get this sclerotium gum to start to incorporate. Now you're going to see that it's going to sort of clump up, and that's fine. That's kind of what it does. You can see the clumps kind of forming in there, and that's all right. I'm going to just kind of get that off of my little stir stick, and I'm going to, these little coffee whisks are really, really invaluable. So I'm going to work my gum in. So little whisks and blenders are really good for this, and you can see that's dispersed rather nicely in there now. And now we will add the xanthan gum and the glycerin mixture in. Now the xanthan gum, if you got like a magnetic stirrer or anything else that is similar to that, it will really help it to dissolve without having to worry about using the glycerin if you don't want to. But I find the glycerin's pretty good. Now I've still got some particles in there. This is still a little bit liquidy, and I may find, you know, depending on the pH of the of everything, I might end up having to add a touch more of the sclerotium gum. But we'll just give it a little bit of time, and we'll see how it all works out. Once everything is fully hydrated, you know, it can take a bit of time for that to happen, so don't be too quick to throw a bunch more of the sclerotium gum in there. If you see that you're not getting the product that you want, just give it a little bit of time to hydrate a bit more. Otherwise you might find that you have something just a little bit too stiff that's not going to quite work out for you. But I think that this is turning into a beautiful little gel. I think we may find that's going to be the ideal mix right there. So there we go. I'm going to let that sit for a little bit longer to fully hydrate, and we'll be back when it's all done. Okay, well that's looking pretty hydrated, and it'll still probably set up a little bit more. Check out the temperature here, 28 degrees Celsius, so we may find that it will solidify even a little bit more, but I think we can go ahead and put it into the container. And we'll see. Now I do have some other ideas that I'm going to play around with because I do want to extract a lot more of the plantain properties. You know, when you take a look at the color of an infusion, and you've got that really rich, deep color that comes out, that's quite an indicator that you've gotten an awful lot of the medicine out of there. So. All right, so 50 grams is just perfect for this batch. I'm going to try this out. Now, it's important for you to know that when you're kind of formulating or playing around with things, experimenting with things, don't make a huge batch. This, I knew that the batch would work because I've been formulating for a long time. Look at that consistency, nice and jello-y like. Let's take our... So I knew that this was going to work out just fine. So this is just a really nice little gel-like consistency. As I said, I knew this was going to work out just fine, but will the medicinal properties do what I want them to actually do for me? So that will be that will remain to be seen. I'm going to test it out on a few of my mosquito bites and see how it works, and I will get back to you. So one thing to make sure that you do is that you put your label on your container. I guarantee you will forget what you've produced. So we're going to put Plantain Gel. And I'm going to put today's date, which is the 29th of July, 2021. And this will probably have a shelf life I'll probably use it up before the shelf life expires, but you know, you could potentially have this up to a year. All done. So, thanks for watching this video, and we will be on the next one. We're going to be doing a marshmallow and oat gel. At the very end of all of the video series, I'm going to come back with a report on this one. And I'm also going to be experimenting a little bit different to try and extract more of the properties that really I want out of the plantain infusion. And I'll come back with that when I have that done too, and I'll show you the results of it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what we are doing on this channel, please give us a like, please subscribe, and please share. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.